Hangata ha re shebane le mathata maphelong a rona, re qetella re batlana le dintho tse fosahetseng re leka ho ithoba maikutlo. Ka nako tse ding re lakatsa ho ithabisa ka ho ithekela diphahlo tse ntjha kapa ho intsha. Ba bang ba rona re nahana hore re ka fumana kgutso ho dintho tse tshwanang le dijo, jwala, kwae kapa ho dula letsatsi lohle ho social media. Empa bothata ke bona, ha o etsa ntho tsena kgafetsa o qetella o iphumana o sentse nako ya hao e ngata ho tsona, mme e ba tlwaelo e mpe, mekgwa e mebe e ka o sitisang.
Well, the cocaine made me feel good. Cocaine, I felt on top of the world when I used cocaine. It made me feel like I could handle anything. Meaningful friendships started diminishing as well. My financials, well-being was in a state of ruins, and just lost interest in life in general.
Dumelang lapeng, ke nna Mmarona Kgwele. Ena ke Rands with sense. Re le amohela lenanehong lena la rona. Re entse tlamo ya hore re tla lefa thuso hore le tsebe ho ba le taolo e ntle ya tjhelete ya lona. Ka jeno re tlo bona hore na mekgwa ya rona e mebe e ka re senyetsa nako le tjhelete ha kae. Re be re shebe hore e ka re ama jwang mmeleng, maikutlong le moyeng. Re tla be re bone le hore na ntho e qalang e le nthonyana e fokolang ya ho ithabisa e qetella e hola e ba tlwaelo e mpe e ka re senyetsang ho feta moo re nahanang ka teng.
Ek dink mense ontwikkel gewoontes een as 'n oplossing vir sekere probleme of situasies. So onmiddellik kry dit 'n funksie of 'n diene doel. En daai is die verleidingselement wat dan vir 'n ou gaan sê, maar kom ek hou aan hiermee want kyk wat doen dit. Jy weet, al voel 'n mens net beter. Van die negatiewe emosies is dit mislei jou ook, want dit laat jou glo dis 'n troos of 'n susmiddel en dit kan baie keer nie net daai doel hê nie, maar ook 'n volgende probleem skep. Ook deesdae is daar redelike gemaklikheid in die gemeenskap om vir mense tydperk toe te laat om met sekere goed te eksperimenteer. Ek meen, studente word geakkommodeer om 'n bietjie met drank te eksperimenteer, selfs bietjie met dwelms, maar nie almal het die selfdissipline om te weet wanneer om te stop of na hoeveel jaar om te stop.
Kaofela ha rona, re na le mekgwa e mebe e ka re sitisang bophelong. Ba bang re a tsuba, ba bang re nwa jwala haholo kapa re tsamaya di-casino re a betjha. Ha ba bang ba ja haholo, ba bang ba itima dijo kapa re reka dintho ho feta tekano. Ho ithuta ka tsona tlwaelo tsena tse mpe tse re sitisang, tse amang maphelo a rona hampe. Ha re ke re utlwe dipale tsa nnete tse tswang ho batho ba phetseng ka tsona.
I've been in business for about 20 years and after the 2008-2009 global recession, things went pear-shaped in business. And so basically, you're always trying to look at alternatives in terms of how you're going to get money, you know. And yes, I started going to the casino. I drew the line at, I lost 780,000 Rand in a matter of 4 months. Then my wife left me, you know, and she left me with my kid, you know. And then when you start losing everything around you, and you start losing the people that care about you around you, you know, that's when you start asking yourself the question, is it all worth it?
Okay, my bad habit, addiction, was cocaine use. It affected me financially in a negative manner. Reason being that the salary that I earned every month, I'd used to fund my habits. Once that money's dried up, I resorted to making loans. I then developed to a state where I made loans to pay off loans. I could not pay back some of the loans which I made, which led to banks calling me and payments not being made. I even resorted to reversing debit orders, which meant that I would go into arrears, and because I couldn't afford to pay all of these things back, it put me in a negative position emotionally, and to overcome that, I would use again. So that was my spiral. Because of the negative implications, I wouldn't want to deal with it. I would want to sweep it under the carpet, and I would end up using again. So it affected me quite badly financially.
O tla tseba jwang ha motho o mo ratang a fetoha lekgoba la tlwaelo e mpe jwalo ka tai. Jwale ha re ke re boneng matshwao a tshelela a bokgobo ba tlwaelo tse mpe he.
Go ithokola bontši bja makgoba ba reke setlwaedi se bonolo sa go ikhutša ka morago ga letšatši le letelele efela le feleletša le tloša maatla goba le tsenelela go ba mokgwa o mobe go fella ke kgahlego go mekgwa ya tlwaelo. Makgoba a ka tlogela mekgwa ya go ithabiša gore ba be le nako ya mokgwa o moswa o mobe. Ba ka emiša go itšhidulla ka go nwa kudu goba go emiša go bonana le bagwera le meloko go tšea nako e telele go di inthanete. Maitshwaro a go se ikwišišego ka nako e nngwe lekgoba le ka ba le bafolofolo la fetša la fetoga ka nakonyana. Go fella ke pelo, go tšwafa, go hloka boitshepo e ka ba leswao la bokgoba. Mathata a tšhelete, bontši bja makgoba ga bana tšhelete ya go reka dilo tša motheo tša go swana le dijo, diaparo goba tšona dihlare, fela ba dula ba ena le tšhelete ya go kgotsofatša mokgwa wa bona. Mathata a bolekane, bontši bja makgoba ba ba le dikgohlano le dintwa le malapa a bona gape le bagwera. Go sa dumele, batho ga ba be le nnete ka bokgoba bja bona, ba bolela maaka, ba sola goba ba itšhireletše ge ba botšišwa ka bona. Tše ke maswao a mangwe a bokgoba. Go ya pele, etela rands.co.za goba letlakala la Facebook.
Ha re ke re fuputse hore ke eng se etsang hore re batlane le ntho tse mpe tsena ha re tobane le mathata.
Partykeer is dit 'n bewustelike besluit van ek wil nie meer voel soos wat ek gevoel het nie. En dan gaan 'n ou soek na sekere maniere of oplossings wat onmiddellike verligting kan bring. So mense wil beter voel, mense wil nie heeldag dink aan hulle probleme en wat vir hulle ongemaklik is nie. So dit is gewoonlik die verleiding of die trap is wat dink jy doen dit vir jou, en dit is dan ook genoeg motivering om daarmee aan te hou.
Ka mora papatso re shabana le mekgwa e tsebahalang haholo ya bokgoba e bitswang the big four. E bang le rona hape ha re kgutla papatsong le tlo fumana hore mekgwa ena ke efe le hore e ama maemo a rona a tjhelete jwang. Re le amohela hape ke nna Mmarona Kgwele o ntse o shebelletse Rands with Sense mona ho SABC 2. Kajeno re bua ka mekgwa e mebe ya bokgoba. Re be re fumane hore na e ka ama maphelo a rona le maemo a rona a tjhelete jwang. The Big Four, e leng dintho tse nne tseo batho ba bangata ba nang le bokgoba ba tsona, ke jwala, dithethefatsi, ho tsuba le ho betjha ka tjhelete kapa ho tsamaya di-casino. Dipatlisiso di bontsha hore Afrika Borwa ke naha e nang le setjhaba se nwang jwala haholo ho feta dinaha tse ding tse ngata lefatsheng.
A male can use up to a maximum of 21 units per week, and a female can use up to a maximum of 14 units per week. It can be broken down into 21 shots of brandy, or 21 glasses of wine, or 21 340 mils of beer for men. But our experience is that the South Africans are consuming much more. How alcohol can become a habit that hinders is if you look at the frequency of when people use it. Is it generally acceptable? Is it at a social occasion? Also, you look at the amount that people are using. 2 to 4 drinks is socially acceptable. Then you look at the reasons of why people are using. The reasons why people are using should not be to alleviate feelings of inadequacy or frustration or loneliness. So once that is the situation, the alcohol, for example, is used as an emotional painkiller or as a coping mechanism. Alcohol has a big effect on people's family, as it is an emotional hardship for the family. Alcohol abuse can lead to violence, aggressive behavior in a physical, emotional or sexual way. They go into the cycle of depression and drinking, and then eventually it can also lead to suicide. Also, it can lead to separation or divorces because people squander their financial resources. Also, there are medical expenditures because you need to have treatment for your health because of too much alcohol that can be consumed. Also, people go into debt and they can also lose their jobs.
Ke ntho e bohloko ha batho ba senya tjhelete ya bona e ba isebeleditseng ka thata dinthong tse senang molemo tse ba sitisang ho ba le maphelo a matle. Haeba mo Afrika Borwa o nwa dibiri tse 3 ka letsatsi, sena se bolela hore o qetella a sentse 12,000 rand ka selemo kapa 1,000 rand ka kgwedi. Ha re ke re bone dintho tse ding tse nang le molemo tseo ka di etsang ka 1,000 rand ka kgwedi.
Vha badele zwikolodo zwavho. Tshikolodo tshi nga vha thithisa u hulisa masheleni avho. Zwi vha khwine uri vha ṱavhanye vha badele tshikolodo tshavho. Vha nga dzi wanela zwikolo vhane vha nga guda hone kha internet. Maḓuvhano hu na tshiṅwe na tshiṅwe kha internet. Vha nga kona u isa phanḓa na nga zwigudiswa zwavho u fhirisa zwo uri vha tambe dzi internet game kana u gambula kha internet. Vha vhulunge masheleni. Vhutshilo vhu ya shanduka nga tshikhalanyana. Nahone ndi zwavhuḓi zwo vha dzule vho vhulunga masheleni uri zwithu zwi tshi konḓa kana hu na thaidzo vha kone u itandulula. Vha ite masheleni manzhi. Arali vha nga vhulunga 1,000 rand kha dzi savings account dzavho, vha nga wana 750 rand mafheloni a ṅwaha ya dzi interest nga u vhulunga fhedzi. Hezwo ri zwi vhidza Rands with sense. Vha tshi nyaga u ḓivha zwinzhi nga hashu, vha ri dalele kha randswithsense.co.za kana kha siaṱari ḽashu kha Facebook.
Afrika Borwa e tsejwa e le e nngwe ya dinaha tse nang le dithethefatsi tse ngata hampe lefatsheng mona. Bongata ba batho ba sebedisang dithethefatsi ba fumana tjhelete e lekanang le 1,000 fela ka kgwedi. Mme ba tla etsa tsohle tse matleng a bona hore ba fumane dithethefatsi tsena. Ha re ke re utlwe hore e ka ba bothata bona ba dithethefatsi bo ama maphelo a rona le naha ya rona jwang.
Enige gewoonte vergesekerde hoeveelheid belegging, of dit nou tyd is of dit nou finansies is. Enige van daardie gewoontes moet op 'n sekere manier aan die gang gehou word. En wat baie keer gebeur is, daai gewoonte begin 'n prioriteit uitgawe word. En dit kan dan nou weer aanleiding gee tot allerlei finansiële uitdagings. Ons eerste belegging en ons eerste prioriteit lê by ons verhouding met ons middel. En alle ander verhoudings, alle ander prioriteite word sekondêr. Mense kry skielik 'n kenteken om hulle nek wat sê maar hierdie persoon is 'n verslaafde. En mense hanteer jou dan op 'n sekere manier en die kans dat jy dan verwerping gaan ervaar, gaan voel asof jy misluk het, ensovoorts. So dit raak jou eers op 'n baie persoonlike vlak.
The consequences of substance use are unavoidable. There's no such thing as a high-functioning alcoholic or drug user. People tend to lose their reputation, it gets tarnished, their careers get sabotaged, and also their income gets eliminated totally.
I-addiction i-affecta vela umndeni wonke, i-affecta nje umuntu oyi-one lo umuntu lo osebenzisa utshwala or ama-drugs. I-affects i-family yonke in the case ukuthi because nomuntu lo usebenzisa ama-drugs uzofuna imali, and because i-drugs idinga imali angisho. So uzothola ukuthi a lot of the times because umndeni maybe abafuni nemali yabo ukuthi why fanele siphe umuntu osebenzisa ama-drugs imali, umuntu wakhona uzophuma ahambe ayozama ukuthola imali, and if anganamsebenzi or akanama means of ukuthi athole imali e-right, uzothola ukuthi uzogcina saka asebenzise ezinye indlela njenge housebreakings or muggings or ayenze izinto ezingekho emthethweni.
Ke nnete hore jwala le dithethefatsi di senyetsa batho maphelo le tjhelete. E ba le rona ka mora papatso ha re ithuta ka mekgwa e mebe e sitisang maphelo a rona. Re le amohela hape mona ho Rands with Sense, moo re lekang ho le thusa ho nka boikarabelo le taolo ya tjhelete tsa lona. Pele re ya papatsong, re bone ka moo tshebediso e mpe ya jwala le dithethefatsi e ka amang maphelo a rona ka teng. Ntho e nngwe e etsang hore tjhelete ya rona e senyehe haholo ke ho tsuba kwae.
Die huidige statistieke gedoen deur die Tabak-Instituut van Suid-Afrika wys dat daar 7.7 miljoen rokers in Suid-Afrika is. As jy dink dat die gemiddelde roker omtrent 100 sigarette per week rook, is die koste daarvan verbonde omtrent R780 per maand. Rook affekteer jou gesondheid op die volgende maniere. Dit vergroot jou kanse vir hartsiektes, verskillende tipe kankers, van long tot mond tot slukdarmkankers, vergroot ook die kanse vir hoë bloed, hipertensie en verskillende ander rookverwante siektes, byvoorbeeld asma en alles wat daarmee gepaard gaan.
Ons sien daai impak baie algemeen. Dat jy terminale probleme kan optel. Jy kan die kanker optel wat baie keer nie geneeslik is. Veral in die long is daar spasie. So kanker kan groei sonder dat jy dit weet en ons tel dit vind dan te laat. Waar jy ander kankers in die algemeen maklik opspoor want jy kan hom vinnig en vroegtydig teiken en genees. Rook gaan ook 'n impak op jou hart hê. Jy gaan met die tyd saam minder bloedvoorsiening in jou liggaam hê. Met die tyd gaan jy agterkom hart werk harder. Hy het nodig om die organe in die gang te hou, maar omdat sy kwaliteit verminder, sien jy elke liewe orgaan tot jou vel verouder, al die organe tot jou lewer het impakte op en byvoorbeeld jou spysverteringsstelsel, jou metabolisme, alles word beïnvloed tog deur rook.
Suid-Afrika se statistieke tans wys dat daar 10.000 mense is jaarliks wat sterf as gevolg van rookverwante siektes.
Motho ya tsubang o sebedisa bonyane ba hora ka letsatsi mosebetsing a ntse a lo tsuba. Mme hona ho ka qetella e le dihora tse 244 tse senyehang selemo se seng le se seng mosebetsing.
'n Studie wat gedoen was in Taiwan het bewys dat jou man wat rook neem 1.36 meer siekdae as jou nie rokende persoon. En in die geval van vroue is dit min of meer dieselfde. Ons weet dat wetgewing 'n getal siekverlof toestaan aan 'n individu en dat indien jy 'n roker is, oorskry jy gewoonlik die getal siekverlof wat jy neem per jaar, wat bedoel dat jy of aan jou verlof daar moet vat of dit moet onbetaalde verlof wees. En dit het 'n impak op jou inkomste, want jou inkomste gaan dan minder wees as wat jy normaal sou kry indien jy binne die wet sou hou en net die getal siekdae of minder vat wat jy toegelaat word. As gevolg van die getal siekverlof geneem deur rokers, het dit 'n impak op inkomste en die produktiwiteit van bedrywe, wat in die algemeen ook 'n impak het op die ekonomie, wat 'n verlies het van tussen 1.3 en 3.4 miljoen per jaar.
Ntho ya bone ya ho qetela e re sitisang maphelong a rona ke ho betjha le ho gamble. Ho ya di-casinong le ho betjha ke ntho tseo batho ba bangata ba naheng ena ba di ratang haholo. Empa ho bobebe hore di qetelle e le dintho tse senyang bokamoso le maemo a hao a tjhelete.
People will go to great lengths to get their hands on any kind of cash to gamble, and it is sometimes quite amazing to find out what they will do to do that. That could be anything from getting a divorce to get your divorce settlement, getting loans that you do not qualify for, selling cars or property, any kind of property, to get your hands on cash, using credit at clothing accounts or any store, and then selling those items to be able to get the money, no matter what the consequences are subsequently. People will turn to activities like prostitution, even to get their hands on money to play, and we know that this happens inside the gambling industry.
I can remember one scenario where I was gambling for a couple of months, and I sold one of my vehicles, and the person I sold it to paid me in cash money, and I had to drive. I literally stayed 10 minutes away from Carnival City. I literally had to drive past Carnival City to go back home. I thought, you know what, I got a bit of time in my pocket, let me pop in at the casino. I lost 160,000 Rand in 10 minutes. And it's like an illness, it's like a cancer. So what happens is, the more you lose, the more you think that you want to try and win it back. And you will never, ever, ever win back, because the odds are set against you. A casino is designed so that the house wins, so that you as a player, you lose. At the end of the day, no matter whether you won today or whether you lost tomorrow, you will always end up being the loser at the end of the day.
But to give you an idea of what people are spending on gambling in 1 year in this country, excluding the lottery, 281 billion Rand. That is the formal industry alone. That does not include the lottery, that does not include illegal or informal gambling. 281 billion Rand. That was 2013.
Ha ba bangata ba nka sena e le ho ithabisa ha nakwana, ho na le ba bang ba qetellang e le makgoba a ho betjha, dikarete, dikasino le metjhini.
Consequences of becoming a compulsive gambler, and it's like any drug. All sense of common sense leaves you when you sit down at that table. But the fact of the matter is that nobody forced you to walk into that front door,
The profile of a gambler is certainly indicated by a level of impulsivity. It has been found that people who are more impulsive than others can have or can be more vulnerable to addiction of any kind. whether it be gambling or smoking or drinking or drugs. So impulsivity definitely forms a part of becoming addicted to gambling, because you're not thinking of the consequences. That impulsivity to act before thinking it through, that is an aspect of a gambling addiction. So that would be part of the profile. And yet gambling addiction happens across all demographics, all ages, and all income groups. So from that point of view, it's very difficult to pin down. It can happen to anyone, rich or poor, well-educated or illiterate. It can grab anybody. Gambling has many motivations, and it can be as a result of a need for risk, a need for adventure, adrenaline, because never knowing the outcome of something is what brings the risk and the adrenaline, and that is certainly addictive. People do go for that. We see that in all sorts of other sports as well. So that is one of the motivations for gambling. Another motivation, especially amongst women, for gambling is to zone out, to forget about their problems, their home life, whatever it is that they're confronting or facing and not wanting to confront or face. So it is a form of escape, and it is a form of excitement.
Ha re khutla papatsong, re tlo lefa dikeletso hore le tsebe ho laola tjhelete tsa lona hantle, jwalo ka baratani kapa manyalani, le ho ithuta ka mekgwa e fapaneng ya ho gamble e ka senyang tjhelete. Ha re tswelleng pele hang ka mora papatso ena. O ntse o shebelletse Rands with Sense mona ho SABC 2. Ka jano re bua ka ditlwaelo tse mpe tsa bokgoba tse re sitisang maphelong a rona. Re be re fumane hore na re ka di qoba jwang hore di seke di a re senyetsa maphelong a rona le tjhelete tsa rona. Empa pele re tswella pele, ha re ke re fumane dikeletso mabapi le tjhelete le dikamano.
Tirhisani nkota ya nhlanganelo eka swilaveko swa nhlanganelo. Swilaveko swi nga angarhela rente, swo dya, insurance no hakela swikweleti. Endlani vukaneri bya nkatsano na vukaneri bya ximunhata. Kanelani ntsengo lowu ximunhata xi nga wu tirhisaka mitwana. Ku va na Rands with Sense i ku ringeta ku hlayisa mali yo tirha swa siku na siku, ku sirhela no ku tirhelwa ka mundzuku. U nga kuma vuxokoxoko eka website leyi ya ntirhisano www.randswithsense.co.za kumbe eka papila ra hina ra Facebook.
Ka jeno re bua ka mekgwa e mebe e ka re bakelang mathata. Re se re utlwile hore di-big four tse ka re sitisang ke dife: jwala, dithethefatsi, ho tsuba le ho gamble. Ho betjha dipapading ke ntho ya bobedi e kgolo e etsang hore naha ya rona e be le bothata ba gambling. Re betjha dipapadi tse ngata, e ka ba bolo ya maoto, dipere kapa cricket.
Sports betting is really used, or it's done to bet on teams, soccer, rugby, almost anything apparently, but of course the more popular sports are betted on a lot more. And that can be done via a website, even a sports betting website, or going into a bookmaker, and you will bet on a race or a match, and there are certain odds, and you can have all sorts of variations that you can bet on, and then hopefully you bet correctly. You will be paid out accordingly, and sometimes only a portion of that is paid out depending on how right or wrong you were. It can become extremely technical, and it really takes quite some skill to know exactly how it works. There are the easy ways of doing it where it's a little bit like a lottery, pick, but it can also be a very skilled game. Sports betting has been around even before casinos were legal in this country. So horse racing and sport betting was around before 1996, when that gambling was officially legalized in this country. And sports betting on websites is legal. You can place a bet online, but you cannot play the slots online or play poker or roulette online. Anything that's related to a casino, for example, that is illegal. And a lot of people don't know that. They think because the website is there that they can gamble. But internet or online gambling as such, as opposed to placing a bet on a website, is illegal. So the first thing as a result of that is that you have no legal recourse. You are playing a game, and it's always via your credit card, because that's the only way they're going to get your money. And again, that's money that you don't have. You have no recourse to getting your winnings if you do win, because you cannot go to the police and say, this website has not paid me my money. You can be arrested as a result of that. So online gambling is extremely high risk. It's very accessible. You can roll out of bed or even stay in bed while you gamble. People don't know that you're gambling while they're sitting next to you. We already have a problem in families where individuals in the family spend more time in front of a screen than in front of each other. And with online gambling, that can become much worse, but it's also unnoticeable sometimes. So the person might be getting deeper and deeper involved without anybody around them becoming aware of it. And for them, it's very easy. It's made easy because it's so accessible. And in just as many ways as any kind of other gambling will affect the family, it can do so with online gambling, because it's about money, the amount of money that's being spent, that's going down the drain, which was meant for other things. And secondly, it's about time. Time is needed for family time, for work, for recreation, for health, for sleep. Very often gamblers will forfeit their sleep to gamble, and this will have an impact.
Jou kompulsiewe gewoontes soos dobbel het ook baie nadelige effekte op jou liggaam. Verhoogde angstigheid, verhoogde stres. Persoon kom baie meer geïrriteerd voor baie keer. Ons sien hulle ook dat hulle geslaap, sterings kry, so slapeloosheid ly, dieetsterings, ooreet of selfs te min. Ons sien dat hulle probleme met die gemeenskap optel, probleme met die familie optel, so meer die emosionele en sielkundige probleme wat ons sien elke dag daarmee saam. Wat op sigself dan nou ook jou kwaliteit verminder en jou oopmaak vir kanker, jou oopmaak vir jou metaboliese siektes, vir jou hartaanvalle en alledaagse probleme.
Ntle le tlwaelo tse mpe tse re buileng ka tsona, ho na le tse ding tse bonahalang ekare ha di na molato, tse tsebahalang empa di baka mathata le tsona. E nngwe ya tlwaelo tse mpe tse senang molemo ke ho rata ho reka dintho fela tjena. Ha re ke re utlwe dintlha tse ding ka taba ena.
Suid-Afrikaanse retailers laat jou voel dat jy allerhande snerp nodig het. Jy kan nie sonder 'n derde selfoon nie. Jy kan nie sonder 'n vierde persoonlike rekening nie. Jy kan nie sonder 'n 5de kredietkaart nie. Jy moet een van elke kleur in jou beurs hê. Jy kan ook nie Suid-Afrikaanse retailers blameer nie, want ons speel so goed in hulle hande. Dis amper asof ons nie sonder hulle kan leef nie. Dis amper asof as ons nie het om ander mense te wys nie dat ons minderwaardig is. Ons weet nie van nee sê nie en ons dink dat wie ons is geheg aan wat ons het. En dit is die probleem.
Ho ba boima ho iphapanyetsa dintho tse ngata tseo borakgwebo ba lekang hore rekisetsa tsona ka hore bontsha dipapatso tse ngata tse kgadisang. Ho bohlokwa haholo hore o tsebe ditokelo tsa hao jwalo ka moreki, mme o tsebe dintlha tsa Consumer Protection Act ya Afrika Borwa ka botlalo. Ha re bone dintlha tsena tse bohlokwa. Ho ya ka Act ena, o na le tokelo ya ho fumana thekisetso e nang le boikarabelo le toka. Sena se o sireletsa haholo ha o sa batle ho fumana dikopo le dipapatso tsa hore o reke dintho ka mohala, email kapa poso. Hape o na le tokelo ya ho rekisetswa ka botshepehi le nnete. Sena se bolela hore batho ba o rekang dintho le ditshebeletso ho bona ba ka se kgone ho qobella le ho tena kapa ho hatella kapa ho tshosa hore ho reke ho bona. O na le tokelo ya ho fumana ntho e bitswang cooling off period. Sena se bolela hore wena jwalo ka moreki o na le tokelo ya ho fumana matsatsi a 5 eo ka ona o ka fetolang mohopolo wa hao mme wa kgutlisa dieta tsane tse turu kapa home theatre system yane eo e rekileng o sa nahana hantle. O hloka fela hore o tsebise kgwebo eo rekileng ho yona. O ba bolelle hore o fetotse mohopolo wa hao ebe o kgutlisa dintho tseo di rekileng. Ka molao, kgwebo eno e na le matsatsi a 15 hore e kgutlisetse tjhelete ya hao kaofela hwa yona. Hopola hore sena se sebetsa fela ha o rekile dintho tseo di rekiseditsweng ka direct marketing. Ho bolellang hore o rekile ntho eo ka morao wa hore ba o romele papatso ka email kapa ka mohala. Ha o batla dintlha tsena ka botlalo, etela website ya rona randswithsense.co.za kapa o kaya ho Facebook page ya rona. E ba le rona ha re kgutla re tswelle pele ka ho bua ka bokgoba ba mekgwa e mebe le hore re ka nyahletsa jwang. Re le amohela hape mona ho Rands with Sense. Kajeno re shebana le mathata a bakwang ke bokgoba le hore a re senyetsa tjhelete e kae. Ka nako tse ding re lakatsa ho ithabisa ka ho ithekela diphahlo tse ntjha kapa ho intsha. Ho ja dijo tse sa matlafalang tse rekiswang mabenkeleng a dijo kgafetsa le hona ho tswa taolong.
Ek dink ons is 'n junk food eating nation omdat dit gerieflik is. Mense is nie meer lus om na werk, jy weet, kos te maak nie, of hulle het nou 'n lang dag gehad en hulle dink ag dit gaan net makliker wees om 'n vinnige takeaway te gaan kry. So ek dink daar's definitief 'n shift na iets wat vinniger is om te eet, wat jou versadig laat voel. Dit is ongelukkig nie die gesonde manier om te leef nie. 'n Mens moet regtig versigtig wees met gereelde takeaways eet. Probeer dit so min soos moontlik te maak.
Ho reka dijo tse ngata ho feta tseo o di hlokang ke tshenyo ya tjhelete.
Dit is eintlik skokkend om te sien hoe baie geld Suid-Afrikaners op kitskos spandeer. As jy kyk na die navorsing, hulle sê dit is amper oor die 18 biljoen rand per jaar wat Suid-Afrikaners op kitskos en takeaway spandeer. Dit is skokwekkend. Ek sal sê die gemiddelde persoon spandeer maklik so R400 per maand, indien nie meer nie, op takeaway kos. Die gevolge van te veel takeaways en junkkos te eet is byvoorbeeld dit is nie goed vir jou bloeddruk nie, dit is definitief nie goed vir jou hart nie, veral as jy 'n bietjie cholesterol het, as jy oorgewig is, dit gaan definitief nie met jou gewig help nie, want dit is baie hoog in kilojoules en veral ongesonde vet wat ook jou risiko vir kanker kan verhoog.
Dikgwebo tse thusang batho ho fokotsa mmele ya bona di etsa tjhelete e ngata hobane batho ba bangata ba batla ho fokotsa mmele ya bona ka pele. Ba sa etsa mosebetsi o mongata kapa ho fetola mekgwa e ba jang ka yona. Dintlha ka industry ena ya dibilione tse ngata tsa diranta ke tsena ho tswa ho ditsebi.
Ek dink mense glo aan die dieetindustrie omdat hulle vir jou waarborg of hulle sê vir jou jy gaan gewig verloor of jy gaan 'n six-pack kry. Ek dink net mense is baie meer of hulle dink as hulle geld spandeer, gaan hulle ook 'n resultaat sien. En daar is so baie produkte nou op die mark. Jy weet, jy kan dit oor die toonbank koop. Jy kan dit oor die internet bestel. So daar is baie meer goed beskikbaar. Ek sou sê in my praktyk spandeer die algemene persoon so tussen 300 en 1000 rand per maand op aanvullers, byvoorbeeld vitamiene, minerale, dieetprodukte. Ek sal sê, jy weet, ek het altyd die slogan diets don't work. Mense voel, hulle wil nou gewig verloor, hulle kies 'n diet, hulle volg die diet vir 'n week, 'n maand, maar op die ou einde is hulle nie, jy kan hom nie handhaaf nie, jy kan hom nie volhou nie, want baie keer is die diet baie streng, of dit kos baie geld, want jy moet ook pille en aanvullers saam met dit, jy weet, eet en drink, en op die ou einde kan jy dit nie volhou nie, en dan gaan jy van die diet af, en dan tel jy mos weer die gewig op. En dan moet jy nog 'n diet kies. En dit is daai bose kringloop van yo-yo dieting.
Re buile ka dintho tse mmalwa tse ka re senyetsang tjhelete, empa re reng ka tse re senyetsang nako. Nahana ka nako e we senyang, o le social media o shebane le dintho tse senang molemo interneteng. Ba bang ba rona ba sebedisa technology ho shebella di-video le pornography online. Ha re bone hore na ebe re sebedisa nako e kae dinthong tsena le hore di ama maphelo a rona le mesebetsi ya rona jwang.
Pornography is one of those topics that is very interesting for everybody, but very little research is available on the topic. In my experience, and I can really just go on information that I get from patients, and these will be people that come to seek help, or wives that bring their husbands. Women feel strongly about men who watch pornography often and feel cheated, and I say cheated in the sense of the word, because women feel that's time spent away from them, and this is often used in divorce cases. I still prefer to refer to these people as compulsive sexual behavior and not as addicts. And it would be somebody that spends money that they don't have. He either accesses the internet. A lot of the porn sites on the internet are pay sites. So they have to use their credit cards for that and all the other hidden costs that we often don't see. The person with compulsive sexual behavior often spends a lot of time to hide his behavior. So he might spend a lot of time in a bathroom, or he's forever on the road because he's seeking, especially men who look for sex workers, for instance, spend a lot of time driving up and down streets, and they're away from places where they should be. Because if you're looking at a salesperson, for instance, he should be on the road selling when he's on the road seeking. So that's not particularly good on a work record, and that is how it will impact on their income ultimately.
Na o nahana hore o na le mekgwa e mebe e ka o sitisang ho tswella pele ka bophelo ba hao? O seke wa tshoha hobane taba tsa monate di teng. O na le bokgoni ba ho tlohela ho ba lekgoba la dintho tsena tse mpe tseo re welang ho tsona ha bobebe.
The first step in overcoming a bad habit, even if it's for yourself or for someone else, if you see hazardous signs, please seek professional help as soon as possible. When you are in denial, your professional helper can help you to go from a pre-contemplative stage, where you're in total denial, to a contemplative stage. So they can identify problem areas with you because of your bad habits. What people struggle most with when dealing with a bad habit or want to break it, it depends on the substance, because some substances have withdrawal symptoms, and also another one is people need to replace their coping mechanisms. Coping mechanisms, for example, will be talking to someone, learning skills of how to deal with your problem, getting yourself a new hobby. You need to make a conscious decision to want to stop. You need to be internally motivated to want to quit the bad habits.
Ek dink boonbehalwe die feit wanneer jy besig is om 'n gewoonte te verander, dat jy moet fokus op beter gewoontes, is om te gaan regmaak wat jy beskadig het. Of dit nou verhoudings is, of dit nou finansiële probleme is. Die grootste en belangrikste is om alle dinge wat jy voorheen vermy het of beskadig het deur daardie gewoonte te identifiseer en daarvan werk te gaan maak.
there is a way out, there is a means out to, you know, to the misery that you find yourself in active addiction. It takes courage, it takes a bit of discipline, and it just takes a bit of honesty from yourself in admitting your faults, and you know, just being disciplined in sticking to, you know, what you've decided on.
There's a saying that they say, you only realize what you've had once you've lost it, you know, and that was the case with me, you know. And they say two things that I enjoy is, one, time is a healer, and the second thing, only with time wisdom comes, you know.
Hasimohe bongata ba rona re na le mekgwa le tlwaelo tse mpe tseo re seng re le makgoba a tsona, empa hona ha ho bolelle hore re a fokola. Kaofela ha rona re na le matla a ho lwantsha bokgoba ba tlwaelo tse mpe hore re be bohlale ka tjhelete ya rona. Ke nna Mmarona Kgwele, ebang le rona hape bekeng e tlang ha re tswella pele ka ho fana ka keletso e tjhatsi ho etsa rands with sense. Salang hantle.